never knew that. I've literally just figured out that that button there on my mic remotes my camera. Would you have ever known? Because I fucking didn't. I've only just figured it out. But in today's episode of the Supra, are you ready for this? I've got a massive pipe. Sorry, I'm being a bit immature there. But yes, in today's episode of the Supra, it is getting on to, if you haven't already guessed, the exhaust. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm not looking forward to this bit because it's going to be a bugger. I just know it is. So yeah, so if you haven't already guessed, I think you know what's going to come next. So basically, it's a manufacturing of the downpipe from the back of the turbo. So the exhaust that I've got for it, which is like the back box, I'm trying to get out the glare there, so the back box and the rear pipe is 4-inch. So I need to make a mid pipe and the down pipe, which is also 4-inch, because there's no point in having 3-inch into 4, so it just doesn't make sense. Might as well just be 4-inch all the way through. And then if I do decide to do some power upgrades later on down the line in a few years' time or whatever, bigger turbo or whatnot, then I've already got a big 4-inch exhaust pipe there to accommodate it all. So part of the plan for today is obviously I've got a 3-inch V-band there on the back of the exhaust, so I need to take it from 3-inch to a 4-inch. Now I did, if you can see these down here, I've got a few parts. So these two bits here, let me just get a spot where I can sort of stand you up. You're going to fall over there. Anyway, so as you can see, this one goes from 3-inch being this side up to 4-inch on that side, and you can see the distance there on that. I think that is currently, it's about 60 mil, I can't remember off the top of my head. But then there's this one, so where this taper finishes, where here, that is 3-inch, and that end there's 4-inch. So if I put these two, I need a flat surface, so if I just put that there and that one there, you can see that this one reaches its distance of the 3-inch to 4-inch quicker than this one. So what that means for me is that the distance between the back of the turbo here and the firewall is reduced by about 20 mil, so it gives me a lot more space to play with. So that just needs trimming down and then filing flat and welding to the back of this V-band clamp on here, so that it's not like there, it's actually going to be sat further inside, if you know what I mean. And also, the other thing that drastically needs to change is this pipe here. So this is the water feed that goes up to the heater matrix. So as you can see, it's this pipe here. So currently this gets pulled down there like that and it loops round onto the end of there. So because of that great big loop of hose that comes around here, it's all going to be very tight and very hot down there, so this hose isn't going to last very long if it does stay in its current position. So what I've got, I can't remember where I've put it now, but I've got it. There it is, found it. So what I've got is a stainless steel 90-degree elbow. So what I'm going to do is from where the crimp, not the crimp, let me get the camera in there, let me take you off the pod, there we go. So if I put my arm through there, so from where this taper is on the pipe, I'm going to cut this pipe off there, then I'm going to weld this elbow directly on there like so, and then the bit that I've cut off will then get welded onto the end of this, so that that pipe can then just come straight down the back of the engine block and get placed there, so that it's all just kept out of the way. So that should make my life down there a little bit easier. But all of this, it's just going to be spot welded into place for now, and then I'm going to give it to my welder to weld it all up properly, because I don't have the skills for stainless. I've only got MIG welder, so I'm going to have to convert it to run with argon gas and just spot weld with stainless wire, and then he's going to fully TIG weld it all up for me because he can do it properly and I've never done it before. So when it's a first time thing and you want to get it right, best off giving it to somebody that knows what they're doing, really. So that's the plan. So today, cut that elbow off, get that tacked into place, and it's also going to be a bit of a pig because it is in fact attached to the jacket. So it's this pipe that you can see through here. So that goes all the way around the engine block and goes to here. So as you can see, it goes right the way around. So I need to get that done first, because once I put the exhaust manifold on and the inlet manifold, I'm never going to get that pipe on. So I need to do that and get that sorted, sort of ASAP really, and then the exhaust just will fall into place after that. So yeah, let's get to it. So first things first is turbo off, manifold off, and then I can get access to that pipe properly. Right, so that's the exhaust manifold off. Next thing to do is to undo the bolts on the water column that goes round, and there's one there and there's two here, and I think there's one on the other side down there. Move all this paperwork out the way and it doesn't get lost, and then we'll go from there. So unfortunately, like anything I do, nothing ever goes to plan. This water pipe, the way it is routed around this engine block, you can't just take it out. I thought you might just be able to slide it back and lift it over and out, but it won't do it. So I'm not quite sure on what the approach is now. The only other thing to do would be to cut the water pipe on that corner there where it's no longer needed, so to speak. The water jacket that comes around here would then be a case of the oil cooler and warmer complete delete, and running a thermostatic sandwich plate to the oil cooler. So that's the only other approach I've got really, but then I don't know whether you just link the end of this hose, because obviously there's going to be no coolant coming around here then to this point here. So do I just blank this off? So I just need to do a little quick bit of research on that and sort of figure out what's needed really. Like I say, nothing for me is ever just straightforward. So I'm pretty sure that if I cut this pipe off here, where it goes round to the oil warmer, the bolt hole here can just be sealed up, because then there's no water flow going around. It's just feeding this thing, so I don't think it's going to impede water flowing anyway through the engine block, because it still comes out the back of the engine block through to the heater matrix anyway. But for now, what I'm going to do is, if I do a nice cut and try and get it as close to this flat part here as I can, if it comes to the point where I can't do that, then I can still put a little silicone join piece in between these two and Jubilee clip this back together, because I just physically can't get it out. Now I've had a look online and there is I think it's from the 1JZ engine, that just has a water, basically just that water pipe on its own. It doesn't have the jacket that goes round. And a lot of people run them. So, but the other side of the coin I've seen where people still keep this pipe but modify that end, but then they have a join that goes from the end of this pipe basically straight into there, which bypasses all of this. So there's just contradicting information and I'm not quite sure, so I've just put a post out on the Owners Club to see what they come back with. So for now, I'm just going to chop it, I think. But before I just do go gung-ho, there are a couple of other things that I can do whilst I'm waiting on a reply. So like I said, first things first, I can get this trimmed down, and I can also, bear with me, let's put that down there, this elbow here where that black line is, to make this as short as possible. I can chop that part off too, so I can get on with those now in the garage whilst I'm waiting on a reply. So without further ado, let's just get to it. Right, so there we go, that's that chopped down, and as you can see, I've made a Facebook purchase. So I've managed to get myself one of these belt sanders. It's a nice, I think it's 4 inches wide, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, just shy of 4 inch wide belt. So that's going to make my life a lot easier for getting all of these joints nice and square, so I can offer them up, give them a bit of a spin. And then all I've got left to do now is that point on there, and then we can get tacking together, hopefully. So it is a bit noisy, this thing. So if you're watching on headphones, bear with me. And then, just to get rid of that flashing deburr inside there, just give it a quick going around with the deburring tool. There we go. There's no dirt, no burrs in there now, no nasty growlers. So that should now, wherever my 3-inch V-band is, I think it's on the turbo, I'll just go and grab it. So there's V-band, so as you can see that, because I've just left a little bit of a shoulder on there, just gives a nice square edge for that. I've just had it in there. Why won't it go in now? Maybe it's not quite 100% round. It did pop in just a minute ago. Bear with me, I need 2 hands. There we go, as easy as that. So there we go. So as you can see, that now fits in there nice and snug, so it gives me a nice line to fill in with some weld. So yeah, there you go. Fits in there good. And then, once I've got this cut down, that will then be going in place on there, which will become the first part of the downpipe. So I'm going to get that chopped now. The easiest way to do it is literally with the angle grinder. Because of the shape of it, I can't fit it. I've got my chop saw down there, but because of the shape of it, I can't get it in to cut it. So angle grinder it is. So I'm not going to show you that bit because it's just loud and nasty and horrible. So just going to get on with it. So this is the reason why I bought this sander, because as I've gone round it with the angle grinder, you can see I've got a mismatch there. So I've wandered off somewhere. So that is why you get it on there, and then you get a nice flat cut, so you're not trying to fill welds all the time. So I'm going to get on with that now and get this flat, and then we've got a good surface to go from. And that's how it's going to look. So that's the first part of the exhaust jigsaw puzzle sort of started. So before I can do any spot welding of any sort, I need to convert my welder to run stainless. So I've got a small spool of stainless wire because I didn't need a great big one. I'm only spot welding it, and then my mate's going to do the rest of it all TIG. So got a little, chucking it about already. So a little gas reg, some connection fittings for that blue hose from the gas bottle, because obviously stainless runs on argon, not CO2 like mild does. So I've just got a little hobby bottle of argon gas. Normally I run the big CO2, but for my purposes right now it's going to be the argon gas with a new reg and a little adapter. So on the end of here, that bit, which is what screws into the back of my welder there, so that'll feed my welder with the new gas. So get that converted over and then we can start tacking. So basically what I've got here is that's the adapter push fit for the back of the welder, so that screws onto that gas port, and then these are a step down reducer, because I think that's 6mm tube on that adapter down to the 4mm tube, which is, let me just pop you down, so that's 6mm adapter, and that's an adapter down to 4mm, so that literally just pushes in there, job done. So that's sealed. And then what you then do is you get this hose, which is your 4mm, that pops in there, that's now sealed, and then your gas reg, which has that little 4mm push fit adapter on it there. So this screws to the top of your bottle, and then the other end of this blue hose goes into that. So that feeds your welder with the gas. So that's the easy part. So let's just get that put on and then we're good to go. So first things first, make sure your gas reg is actually turned off and not fully open like it was. So then when you screw it onto your bottle, it doesn't just instantly start going psh, because that'd be a nightmare running out of gas before you even start. So let's get that screwed on there. So that literally just screws onto top. Oh, hang on a minute. He says the valve wasn't open though, it came out of that little hole there. Can you see it? Made me jump that. So anyway, So that's that on there now. Must be like a pressure release thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some tie wraps and just tie wrap this upright so that it's not going to fall over when I start moving stuff about. So move that out of the way, that's do my head in, and I'll show you. So literally just going to tie wrap that to the frame of. Put that on there, like so, and then that's out of the way. Not going to fall over or get in my way. And then I've literally got all this length of hose here, which I don't need. So I'm just going to cut a length off and then just plug it straight into there. And there we have it, so just use the short length for that. Pop that into there, and now all I've got to do is change out the mild steel welding wire for my stainless wire. So I've just took the old spool out of the welder there, so the new wire that I'm going to put in, as you can see from factory, the end is twisted into the spool. So cut it off, make sure you've got a nice square end, nice and straight, and then put that in there like so, and then feed that end into there. Make sure it goes into there also. You can see that I'm trying to do this whilst balancing it on my knee. Like so. Tensioner goes down and holds that into place. And you've got to try and hold this spool still so that it doesn't try and unravel, because this stainless wire is actually quite rigid. So once we've got that on there, let me just pop it down. And then that goes onto there, like so. Spring on there, nut on there, come on. And you screw that on, and that gives you the tension on the spool. You don't want it too tight or too loose, so back it off just a little bit. That's probably about right there. And there we go, so that's it. Need to get it plugged in, which is down at the bottom end of the car. And then when you pull the trigger on the end of your gun here, that will then turn the spool and start pushing the wire down your wire out of here till it comes out the end of your gun. So as you'll see, pull trigger, see how the spool's running, and eventually it should start coming out the end of here. Takes longer than you think. It's coming, I can feel it. Come on, there we go. Nearly there. I feel it coming through the gun now. And there we have it. So, turn the welder off now. And then all you got to do is, with this, it had some wire stuck in the end of the nozzle. So when I cut it off, a bit of the old wire got stuck in there. I don't think I can get it out with this. Let me try pushing it out the other way. There we go, because you get what's a tiny, tiny, tiny little ball on the end of your wire, and it won't come out. So that's that done. So now, you literally just put copper contact tip back in there. Now normally I'd run a brand new one because I'm going to stainless, but for what it's worth, I'm not going to get that much contamination in my stainless. So that's that goes on there. Push fit, but it likes to screw on. Again, tricky with one hand. So that's that, all the way down. Don't bother chopping it off yet because I want to make sure that I've got the right gas flow. So I'm going to turn the gas on now. So that's turning it on, I'm not quite sure. And then turn the welder back on and listen for the gas, which is none coming through as of yet. This is the teething stages, so I just want to make sure everything's right. I forgot to put the O-ring in that, so it was leaking gas from there. But now you can hear the bit of a gas pop out of there. So now we're pretty much good to go. So first piece of the puzzle is this V-band here to this part of the first taper, so that needs going in there and spot welding to said V-band. So that's the first taper just spot welded into place. Just move this cloth out of the way, just put that on there so I don't damage my paintwork. So I can either go that straight off of there, but then it kicks it out this way a lot. Let me just try and get you off the stand there with one hand without dropping you. So as you can see, I'm going to drop it. So as you can see, it's touching the manifold there, so it kicks it out towards the bulkhead here quite a lot. So what I need to do is it's really hard work trying to film and do this with one hand. Let me swap hands. So as that's going straight down, get that flat on there to show you. So as that's flat on there, it's touching the manifold. So it looks like it's at a good angle there, but it's actually not. I need to kick it out that way. So I need to put a pie cut in there and then take it straight down and through that gap. Because believe it or not, that gap between the wastegate and the bulkhead there is literally 4.5 inches, and I've got to get a 4-inch pipe through it, so I've got a 1/4 inch either side. So it's going to be fun. So let me get a pie cut. Right, so I've managed to get you on tripod now, so it's a bit easier to hold, do two things at once. So I need to get the arm underneath there, like so. So the pie cut wants to go around about there, so that it kicks it out that way, if you know what I mean, and throws the exhaust in a straight down pattern. It needs a bit more adjustment yet, so I think it's more about there, like that. That's looking a bit better. Not that you can really see there on the camera, but it looks alright to me. So yes, I think I'm going to go with that. Could do with a pen now really to mark this, because I'm going to have to move to turn the welder on. So, if I keep you roughly where I need you. Right, so I've done the pie cut now, so the next part to go on is that elbow, so it goes straight down. So it's clearing this and it's clearing that, but it's aiming straight down towards this, and I've got to do a really then sharp kick at the bottom to get it through that gap. And like I said, that gap's minimal, and ideally I want to run a heat wrap around this as well, not that cheap shitty fucking cloth wrap that you put around it, that fiberglass stuff. I want to do the proper spot welded on stuff. So I need a bit more space, because it's quite thick, that insulation, and then you've got the stainless steel wrap that goes around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this wastegate, so it gives me more space to get through there. And what I will end up doing, I don't know if you can see, but on the back of the pipe here, I'm going to put a cut, basically cut out a pie cut out of there. And then what that will allow me to do is to move the wastegate inwards, so it'll tuck underneath a bit more, give me a lot more space, and I've still got space, see that hole there, to take the wastegate pipe out and down under the car. So that's the plan. So for now, I'm just going to remove that the wastegate, and I'll make the wastegate fit later. It's easier doing that than it is trying to squeeze that exhaust through there, because I can take the manifold off and sort of do it in situ on the bench really, so that's not too bad. There's plenty of space for that, so I'm not too fussed. So for now, I'm going to get that off, and it gives me a lot more wiggle room with this exhaust. So I've got the elbow on there, and as you can see, I've removed the wastegate from downstairs. So now that elbow's in place, I made up the rest of this. Basically, this end here wants to mate up to that, but unfortunately the pie cut that I've got is too sharp of an angle basically, so I need a pie cut in between. I think two of them make up 90, so I think they're 45, so can't be certain. But if I can get one in between that, then I reckon I'll be golden there. So I'm just going to have a look online. But for today, it's pick-up time for a little lad from school. So I've got to go, unfortunately. But I've not done a bad hit there today. I've been doing a few other things. I've only just started, really. So now that they're in place, I can make a move. So the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be getting the exhaust out of the garage. I just had some exhaust hangers turn up today. So I'll get the main exhaust sort of mounted up underneath the car, and then once I've done this downpipe, I then know where the mid pipe wants to connect up to it all, and I can sort of work on it there. But I am definitely going to need some more of these, because I think I've got that one and one more maybe. Yes, so I've got 245 elbows left, little pie cuts, and I've got 190 elbow left, which I could make my own pie cuts out of, but I'm never going to be that neat with them, so the fewer the gaps, the better. So yeah, so other than that, not really much more to be going on with. So yeah, there's the other 90 on the floor down here, I just couldn't remember where it was, so I've got one of those to play with. So yeah, it's getting there. Right, so it's the next day today, and last night I had a little bit of a think. So, although I've started with the downpipe, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to install the mid pipe, the exhaust, sorry, that goes from the rear of the car to the mid, and then I'm going to build the mid pipe and then come up into the bay to finish this. Because as I'm in here trying to do all this, every time I let go of something, it wants to drop. So if I start the mid pipe and build up from there, gravity's in my favour and it makes my life a little bit easier. So I've got that nice big straight pipe which is in the garage, but this thing here, so this thing here is the rear section of the exhaust. So obviously you got your silencer, and then you got a bit of a mid section, then this is the end in which where the catalytic converter would have used to have been. So I need to build a mid pipe from that then goes to the downpipe from the turbo. So I've got myself some new bungs. So I've got that bung there, and that bracket down there sort of clamps around this and goes to one of the mounts under the car. So I'm just going to go and fit this now, and then I know where to sort of carry on from. So let's go and see how this one fits, shall we? Right, so first little problem underneath here. There isn't anything currently in this area for this to clamp around this part of the rear silencer for this hanger to go onto. The hanger is actually these 3 bolt holes here, so I need to go and find the bracket, and I've got no idea where I've put that, so we'll have to go and dig it out and try and find it. So yeah, mid bit's not too bad because I can see the hook over there already, but yes, I just need to go and find that bracket. Right, so I've got the exhaust now propped up on an axle stand there. As you can see, I've installed just there. There's a hard mount point for the exhaust, and then over here there's a flexi little rubber that joins up to that. There's a little black hook just up there somewhere, but down this back end here where this mount used to be, I can't find that mount, so I'm going to get this installed onto the exhaust, which I'm presuming is going to go, I don't even know, will it be that way? Oh, I don't know, I'll figure it out in a minute. And then I'm going to have to make a custom mount to fit on here. So without any other options, that's all I can do really. So I'm just going to have to get to it. So I'm going to get that stupid alarm keeps going off, so I've got to go a little lad from school in a minute. So yes, I'm just going to get this sort of supported 100% in place by its own mounts, and then I can sort of lift this up to get it looking like where it needs to be on this rear bumper, and then that will dictate how the mount is made. And like with anything you buy, this is the clamp that's supplied with this exhaust. It can't be for anything else. This is what they supply you with. This is the length of bolts for those two clamps. How the fuck, right, are you supposed to get them in there? It won't close up any more than that. So those bolts that are supplied, I'll put one in so you can see. How? I tell you what, if you're going to manufacture something that is supposed to fit a car, why don't you make it so it fucking fits? It proper drives me up the wall. The trouble is, I bought these things probably 4 or 5 years ago as I've been going along throughout the build, because I can't afford to buy things all at once because it's just a fortune, so I trickle buy things. See, stuff like this I can't send back because I've had it for so long. They're just going to say, what are you on about? I don't know what you're on about. So if you're going to bloody make something for a specific vehicle, make sure it fits that fucking vehicle. I've had enough. Right, anyway, that's it for today. I'm now going to go and get a little lad from school because I'm just peed off. So, see you in the next clip. Right, so since that last little video there, I've calmed down. Still not too happy, but at least I've messed about with it. So, as you can see, I've now got that bracket to fit. I've just used some random longer bolts that I had in the garage. I've also done a little bit more welding on the downpipe, which I will show you in just a minute. But the first thing I want to do under here is, can you see these 3 bolt holes? So that there is where the original towing eye used to be, and the exhaust hanger. So I got a little piece of stainless plate that turned up the other day, so I'm going to go and make myself a new exhaust hanger out of this and this bit of stainless bar, which, as you can see, I built up some weld on the end and then ground it back, and then that just stops the exhaust hangers from slipping easily off the end. So let's go find the exhaust hanger bracket, and then we can just draw it on this piece of stainless. I'm knackered, me, from clambering around. Right, so I've offered the bracket up underneath, so that's a towing eye bracket. At the minute it's resting against the exhaust, but that's just because it's just not tight. I just wanted to get a rough idea, so I'm now going to take that back off. I've got my end here, which I have marked somewhere. There we go, so I know just how much of this I need to chop off. And then I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. So, I'm trying to just support that with my knee a second. So yeah, so this has, I've now just chopped it down to length, so that is literally just going to get welded to this metal plate at that sort of angle. It doesn't look anything special or fancy, and that's because it isn't, but it's just, it doesn't need any weird bends to it. Normally you've got like a proper exhaust hanger, but this is just going to be a straight bar because of the height in which the exhaust then sits with the rubber. It's pretty much level with that bracket. So all I need to do now is just go and get that welded on and go from there. And there we go, so that's that exhaust hanger all welded up. Now I know them welds look pretty shocking, but this is my first time ever properly welding stainless. I mean, ever. So I don't think I've done too bad there. So now all I've got to do now is get that bolted up to the underside of the car, and then I can show you the fitment on the rubber bung for the exhaust hanger. And so there we have it. So I've got the bracket that I've made, this metal plate put into place. I've just tightened one bolt up for the time being. Got the exhaust hanger on it, so as you can see that fits nice. It got a little bit of a angle on it there, but that's because of the stress in the exhaust as to where it wants to hang. I had to bend that bracket bar there just down slightly because of the angle in which this was at. It was slightly up, so it kept wanting to try and slide off the end of the hanger, but now I've bent that downwards a lot more, it's sliding the correct way. So instead of trying to slide off the end, it's now sliding into it, so it's always going to slide back onto itself, so to speak. So yeah, so now all I've got to do is get this bolt tightened up, and then that's it, it's good. Oh, so now you can see I've got it nice and in the middle. It doesn't actually look it there because of the cutout of the bumper, but it is in the centre. So that's one little job done. The next thing to do is to carry on with this downpipe basically. So the downpipe has been fully tack welded into place now. So obviously it's too long at the minute, but I did myself a little bit of extra just so I've got something to play with when I come to bring the exhaust down through here and to mate it to this end of the exhaust. So I've got probably, I reckon from that point there to here is maybe just over a metre, about 1.2 metres, something like that. But I don't know whether I'm going to have enough pie cuts or not to sort of make this work. And as you can see, I'm lead on my side. It's not easy. I ain't getting any younger. I had my 41st birthday the other day, so crawling around underneath here is no longer any fun. But anyway, the show must go on. Ow! Pie cut. Right, let's get to it. So there we go, I've started the mid pipe, so that's a few pie cuts in there. I know it looks a bit shoddy at the minute, but once it's welded up it'll be alright. Just because of this gearbox support, you've got to bring it around here, otherwise you bring it down and under. If I show you from the side, so if I was to use that and bringing it down and under, you can see how much this is going to stick below the car. So I need to try and keep it as tucked as high up as I possibly can, which at the minute we're about as near as damn it. There's not a lot of, literally just get my fingers through the gap there. So it's not ideal, but this is what you get when you want to run a 4-inch exhaust system. If I'd have dealt with a 3-inch, I'd have been alright. So I hope that there. Because the last thing you want it to do is start hitting the bottom of your car whilst you're driving. So I think there will be alright. So I'm just trying to figure out the next steps as to how to get from there all the way to the downpipe, which is here. But it is currently 8 minutes past 5, so I've got to go get the little lad from after school club. Oh god, it's hard work under there. So I shall continue this video now after the weekend, so see you in the next clip. Right, so that's the mid pipe pretty much done. As you can see, I've got the end here and I've got the V-band which is fitted just up there. I am going to make a small alteration though, because I'm just not happy with one part of it, so just let me get with this. So as you can see, this pipe is going in there, so that's going to get mated up to that end there nice and smooth, and then when it gets to this end down here, as you can see, the V-band, I've had to draw a mark on it there, so I just need to make a little cut off of the end of that so that it fits into there nicely. But before I do any more welding, I've just ordered another 4-inch V-band, because, let me just show you on this one. So this is the 4-inch V-band which I used on the end of the
exhaust part here, because the rear part of the exhaust was supplied already with a V-band on the end, and then the V-band that I've put on this pipe then mates to that one. Now the V-bands, the earlier V-bands, were just straight faces. I can't really show you one at the minute, but they're like a smooth face, so the two faces just come together. But as you can see on this one, there is a female ring on the inside of this one, then you get a male ring on the other one, and they sort of like lock together, so they always centralised in the middle of each other. But this V-band on here is one of the old type ones, so it's just a flat face to flat face. So as you can see, although it's nipped up, it's not tight, you can slide these V-bands around, so you get a big step here. So that step's going to create vortex or whatever, or uneven flow of gases. It's probably not really worth bothering about, but for me, I like it to locate, so I know it's all locked together. So I've just ordered another one, so that's turning up tomorrow. So before I do any more welding, any more cutting, because the V-bands might be slightly different, so I don't want to cut the pipes to fit these V-bands when I know that I've got some other V-bands coming. So until tomorrow, there's not really a lot more I can do on this. So this pipe's just going to sit underneath here and wait till tomorrow. So hopefully in the next clip, it'll be me welding up those V-bands and getting this exhaust finished off. And there's one other thing I'd like to try and do as well, if you just bear with me whilst I get up. So the other thing I'd like to do is, again, the V-band that is on here. There's two gas ring grooves in the back of the HKS like turbo housing, which is what this metal raised bit would normally locate into. Now apparently HKS did theirs slightly different to the standard Garrett stuff, so I need to try and find another one of these to make it fit snugly in the back of there, because at the minute, although they're closed up, not completely tight together because of the tolerance fitments of them, that little locking ring actually becomes what they call a fire seal, so it stops fire from the exhaust just squeezing its way through. So if you've just got two flat faces, it's more likely to come through than it is with two locked together faces, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to take that downpipe off now and just see what I can do with regards to those fire rings and see what we can do. So what I was meaning by that is, as you can see on the back of the turbo here, let me get my little protractor so I ain't got my fat fingers in the way. You can see that there are, in fact, two rings in here. So one of these apparently is a location ring for the V-band, and the other one is a gas seal of some sort. I've got a bit of FOD stuck in it there, so that's going to have to get knocked out, so that shouldn't be there. But even this V-band that I've got with that metal O-ring, it doesn't locate on anything there, so it doesn't lock in. So even when you put these together like that, as you can see, there is a gap between those because it doesn't lock. So I need to try and figure a way of getting that to lock into one of those two rings. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. But before I do any of that with regards to the fire ring, what I do need to do is make sure that I can get this wastegate. So as you can see, it's currently clashing with the 4-inch pipe as it is. So I need to take the manifold off and I need to adjust this manifold so that the wastegate's more in that position down there. And then the screamer will be going out through this hole here. So as you can see, there's not a lot of room to get your hands in there. So what I need to do is take this out, mark the exhaust, the downpipe, sorry, and then take the whole thing off and modify that. And whilst I'm at it, once I've got this exhaust manifold off, this water jacket pipe here will also be getting cut and modified, because the big loop round coolant pipe that comes off here and goes around there is also in the way of the downpipe. Not so much that it's in the way, but it's just going to get extremely hot in this area. So unfortunately this jacket can't come off because it loops all the way around the engine, so it can't come off in one piece. So I need to cut it there and then take it off and modify this end. So there you go. So I've got the welding earth on there. So what you can see I've done is I've cut the end off that pipe. I've re-welded this barbed end on because that fits this hose.
and I've put a 90-degree elbow on the end there. So it's basically something like this, and I've chopped it down to get it to fit on there a bit better. I'm not sure yet. I might make this a little bit shorter, because once I've got that welded on there, it's going to be a bit of a tight squeeze to get the hose in, so I might take about an inch off of here and move that barb down a little bit lower so it's not quite as close to the bulkhead up here. So I might just go and do that now. There we go, it's a little bit shorter now, so then that's just not got quite as a tight bend angle up near the bulkhead there, so that'll go on there quite nicely. So all I've got to do now is spot weld this to there, and then I'm going to make a little bracket that goes from that bolt hole to here, just to take the flex out of that pipe. Not that it needs it, but in fact I might not even bother. Anyway, let's get that welded in place. So I've done one quick spot weld there, and I'm going to take it off this end, and I'll do another spot on the back side of it, just so that it's held exactly where it needs to be, and then it'll all be going away to get welded up TIG wise. So let's do that, and then we're pretty much ready to go. So I think a couple of these bolts, that one especially, that one there is already loose, and I think that that one is nipped up. Flipping nylocks, aren't they? There we go. Let's put camera down a sec. There we go, that's that one. So yeah, all I need to do now is just put a spot weld on the back of there, and then all that will be getting filled. So yeah, I had to keep this pipe because it's already been TIG welded for the coolant return from the turbo. So unfortunately I can't just get rid of it because I need the pipe. It's also for the heater matrix as well, so let's get that spot done. There we go, so that's the water pipe now sorted, everything tacked in place. I've now made a stainless steel bracket that goes to it, so that is now supporting it at this end as well. So once I take that off, I'll show you. So everything at this end is just spot welded together, so all just needs filling in with some TIG welding, and then that's that water pipe done. So that's complete. Pop that down there out of the way. The next one to do is the exhaust once that V-band turns up, so I'm still waiting on that. But the other thing I can be doing is, if you remember the manifold where the downpipe comes down here, it's catching on the wastegate here, so I need to make a bit of a relief cut in the side of the wastegate dump tube there and clock this over that way just a little bit further and out of the way. So that's the next task. Right, so I brought myself back into the garage because it's red hot outside today for some reason. It's gone from being like 7 or 8 degrees to being about 20 odd today, so I've got a bit of a sweat on, hence no hoodie today. So but yeah, I was just going to do like a bit of a pie cut relief in here and bend everything round, but I've actually just had a thought that this here is a 45-degree pie cut that's already on the exhaust. So I've just figured if I get the angle grinder, cut off the weld there, neaten it all up, I can just twist the pie cut and move the whole thing round, and then you can just do one continuous weld all the way around that manifold, and it'll just make it a lot neater and easier to do than just trying to fill some gap in, you know what I mean? So it should last a lot longer. So yes, so I'm going to go and do that now. As you can see, I'm a bit hot. So I'm going to get the ear defenders on, the angle grinder out, and I'm just going to go at that manifold now and chop that bit off. So there we go, I've chopped it off, I've cleaned it all up, I've put the precision wastegate back on. So now I'm going to take this back out to the car, reinstall it, and have a play around with this as to where it wants to sit. I'm going to take the downpipe with me as well to make sure I've got some clearance. But I'm pretty sure that if I put it at that angle like that, then it should fit. Before, I'm pretty sure it's fit like that. So it's at the completely wrong angle for what I needed it for. So let's just go put it all back together again. Right, so there we go. That is everything back in place. The wastegate here, I've already fed it down there and I've put a little mark. Not that you can see it, 'cause it's only with a pencil. So I've clocked this down there to a happy place in which it would out of the way of the exhaust. And it also leaves me, let me just put that down, this port down here, that little hole that you can see, it's actually bigger because it's hidden by the steering column there. So that hole down there is quite a big hole, so that's where the screamer pipe's going to go. So I'm going to get that, all of this lot again taken off, and then I can get that spot welded onto there, and then we can double check everything properly, and then hopefully this flipping V-band's going to turn up today, because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. So I'm slowly running out of time before I have to go get my little lad from school again. So yeah, but we're getting there, we're making progress. And there we go, so that's that now tacked into place. So that's exactly where it needs to be. Well, probably not exactly, but you know what I mean. So yeah, so now all I need to do is wait for the V-band to turn up so I can replace the end of that V-band for the one with a step in it, like I was saying earlier on in the video. So hopefully it should be here soon, but I don't know when it's coming. So I figured in the meantime I'll just put everything back in place so that everything is where it needs to be for when that V-band does actually turn up, because like I say, it's nearly 5 o'clock now and it's still not here. So considering it's supposed to be here before 1 o'clock, they failed. So anyway, it does say that it's still en route, so there's not really a lot more I can be doing exhaust wise until that turns up. So like I said, the manifold's done, the wastegate is done. I've just ordered a little V-band so I can make my own screamer pipe, so but that's not a big issue. I can do that myself. I can weld a little V-band to a little pipe myself. That's not a massive task. It's not like a full-blown exhaust system. So I'm happy with where I'm up to at the minute. So literally all I've got to do now is wait for that V-band to turn up, and then I can crack on. So yeah, can't do much more till that turns up. But I have had a load of aluminium pipes turn up for the intercooler side of stuff. So once this exhaust is done, guess what's next? You guessed it, the intercooler. So I don't have the capabilities for welding aluminium. I don't even have the capabilities for spot welding aluminium at the minute. So they're sort of going to have to be taped and held and done that way. I mean, my welder can convert it to do Ali, but then that's just another cost when I can just use a little bit of tape. I don't think the intercooler pipe's going to be as much of a pig as the exhaust to do. So yeah, watch this space, and hopefully in the next little clip I'll be doing V-band. Right, so my new V-band's turned up. So as you can see, these now lock together, so they self-centralise, so to speak. So I've just got to go and get these spot welded onto them exhaust pipes, and then we can pretty much go from there and get these things fully welded up. So spot welded the V-band onto the end of the downpipe. I've put the other V-band female piece in there and just put the clamp on. So it's just loose at the minute, but it's still locating centrally. So now I'm just going to get me a centre pipe that I made earlier. It's like Blue Peter, this, isn't it? Here's one I made earlier. Put that, if I can get hold of it, in like that. So now just got to get these two mated up properly, and then we can pretty much go from there. But I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand because I just ain't got enough. I need to hold it. So I'll show you the end result. And there we have it. So that's them all fully spot welded up now. That one I missed with the gas, but other than that it's all right. Yep. So now got to get these loaded into the boot of the car and get these sent away to get them fully TIG welded together. but there was just something niggling away at me before I did. So the V-band fitting that's on the end of the downpipe there, as you can see, it's just a flat face, and it didn't mesh with the rear of the turbine housing. So I dug out the other end of that V-band and I've machined it now, so it's got a lip on it so it fits perfectly up against the turbo. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to chop the end off of that pipe and then weld this V-band onto that, and then it's good to go. So I'm just going to crack on with that now and get it done and then get it all dropped off so it can all be welded up. So yeah, so what I've done is I've machined a little lip on there, not that you can really see it on the camera, but there's a little step there which now fits within the fire ring on the back of the turbo housing there. So now that actually fully locates and doesn't float around when I'm trying to install it, so it nicely clicks together as opposed to just being somewhat there. So now all I need to do is cut that off the end of there and get this put on. So only one way to go about it, and that's get angle grinder out again in it. So let's get to it. Right, so that's all them spot welds cut off of there. So I'm just going to clean up the excess spot welds that are on this pipe now, and then get the other one welded into position on there, so it's good to go. That's if I can remember where I've put it though. I got it. Anyway, so yeah, let's just get on with that, and then we can get cracking from there. Right, so that's everything trimmed up nice. So now I'm just going to get this outside to the welder and get it butted up and spot welded, and then we can get it dropped off. And there we have it. So that's that all now. I keep saying spot welded, but it's not. I suppose it's a tack weld just to hold it all together. So yeah, now time to go and get these dropped off, and hopefully the next little clip after this will be it all fully welded together. So unfortunately this is the next clip and I haven't got my exhaust. Me welder, he's been away on holiday for a week. I've also been away on holiday for a week, so that's 2 weeks out of action. I've just gone to drop the manifold off today because I actually forgot to drop that off with him, and he still hasn't got round to doing it yet. He's been ridiculously busy since he's got back, so I can't fault him for that. So I'm going to leave the video here, and then hopefully the start of the next video you'll get to see it all welded up and ready, because the next part of the build is basically the intercooler piping. So I've had a couple of weeks off, hence why this video has taken so long to sort of get uploaded and ready. So yeah, it's just this time of year, half term, holidays, this, that and the other start happening, don't they? So yeah, so hopefully in the next clip it will be me sort of sorting all that sort of stuff out. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.